Hey everyone, and welcome back to Scandalous Media. It's Angela, and our episode 6 recap of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's soap opera is finally here. As you guys know, I already covered the first 5 episodes, but I needed a well-needed break from the series. And finally, we have reached the end. Thank you guys for your patience. I was covering Harry and Meghan's other shenanigans during this time, but be sure to check out my 5 videos on episodes 1 through 5, where I recap the episodes and exposed all the lies told within each episode. For this final episode, I counted 8 lies, but of course there's a little bit more in between, so keep watching. Like and subscribe for more, check out the Harry and Meghan playlist, follow us on our social media, and without further ado, let's start. Episode 6 opens up with Harry saying he's on the Freedom Flight, going from Canada to the United States, more specifically to LA. On the flight with him and Meghan is her mother Doria. Right off the bat, I'm already rolling my eyes at him calling it the Freedom Flight and leaving finally all that he's known behind and whatever, because he wasn't oppressed. You know, there is no new freedom. And he claims that the reason they are leaving Canada was because their location got exposed there, so I guess the only reason is to leave secluded island Canada to go to the land of celebrities and paparazzi, aka California. Sure, makes sense. And this actually isn't true. Their location was already known in Canada, as most celebrity locations are known. You search anyone's home and you'll find it, usually only the exterior and not the exact address. The media isn't doxing celebrities, but I will get into this point later on in the video. Harry says that a friend they never met is helping them. The friend in question is Tyler Perry, who gave his mansion to Meghan and Harry to live in when they first came to the States after stepping down as working royals. Tyler said that he felt bad for Meghan because of what her father, Thomas Markle, was doing to her in the press, and he sympathized with her because his family did hurtful things to him. And before the royal wedding in 2018, Tyler sent Meghan a letter. He sent her a letter, but I guess it wasn't enough to invite him along with the rest of the strangers from Hollywood at the wedding. Interestingly enough, he says that Meghan called him in Canada in tears. I just want to take a second here and reflect, because nothing in this story makes sense. He sent her a letter before the wedding, yet wasn't invited. If all strangers are sending letters, maybe we should send one to Meg too. On top of that, the part about her calling him in tears is so weird because he's a stranger to her. Who would call a stranger whom they never met in tears? Right off the bat, the web that Meghan spun on Tyler is evident within the first few minutes of the episode. It's also funny that she only seemed to call him when she needed his mansion. Both he and Meghan don't mention them being in contact any time before they officially met, when he was literally giving them a place to stay. Tyler then goes on this whole tangent about the royal family, and he seems like he really doesn't like them. He says he only knew about the royal family after Princess Diana died, and then he referenced how she was chased in the airport. Then he says that Diana was thrown to the wolves after the marriage ended.
Oh, really?
Where did I hear that one before?
Being thrown to the wolves, I was being fed to the wolves.
If it's not obvious by now that he's reading the script Meghan supplied him, then I don't know what to tell you. He didn't know anything about the royal family, but he knew about Princess Diana being chased by the paparazzi? How convenient that that's the only thing he brings up about her, considering Meghan and Harry spent 6 episodes trying to convince people that they were hounded and chased by the paparazzi, despite that being further from the truth. The fact that he said that Diana was thrown to the wolves, a sentence that Meghan says about herself,
Being thrown to the wolves,
is even more proof that she's telling him what to say, because I refuse to believe it's a coincidence that 2 strangers are now saying, word for word, the same narrative. You know, the same script where Meghan said she wasn't thrown to the wolves, she was fed to them, which essentially means the same thing, but okay. This honestly reminds me a lot of high school and sharing my answers with my friends. He then says that Meghan was afraid of the royal family destroying her. I guess Tyler can put Meghan's mouthpiece under the list of roles he's known for playing, because if the royal family staying completely silent in the press, while Meghan and Harry unleash stories upon stories upon stories, revealing scandalous information on them, then how do you explain their behavior? Is what Meghan and Harry doing not the definition of trying to destroy someone? Tyler then compares his mother being abused to Meghan and Harry.
What?
Tyler's mother, who was beaten and hurt by his father, is somehow comparable to Meghan and Harry for, what? Not wanting the east wing of the palace but instead the west? Not being happy with what the press is saying about them? This isn't the first time that Meghan and Harry's mouthpieces compare them to real victims of abuse, and it's very insulting and privileged of them, to be quite frank. Tyler continues claiming that the royal family did everything that a batterer would do, such as cutting off their funding and their security in order to force them to come back.
I have never heard someone say so many wrong things, one after the other, consecutively in a row.
Lie number 1. The royal family cut off Meghan and Harry to force them to come back. First of all, it was a well-known fact that Prince Charles was still funding Meghan and Harry at the time. Prince Charles's office, Clarence House, published in its annual accounts that Charles paid his sons, Prince William and Prince Harry, and their families, a sum of $6.3 million. The annual report covers the period from April 1, 2020 to March 31, 2021. It's not broken down by family. Harry previously had told Oprah that his family literally cut me off financially in the first quarter of 2020. He said that he had to use the money left to him by his mother, Princess Diana, to help pay for the security for his family, but that is a complete lie. A spokesman for Clarence House told the BBC that the Prince of Wales allocated a substantial sum to Harry and Meghan to support them with their transition in stepping down as senior members of the British royal family and relocating to California. It's unbelievable to expect to step down from a job and still somehow reap the benefits. Tyler Perry should know how Hollywood works and how if you're not working, you're not gonna get paid. I've talked in depth about security and why Meghan and Harry won't have royal police protection in the UK, and it mainly has to do with the fact that the tax-paying people of the UK, the same people that Meghan calls racist.
Obviously now people are very aware of my race because they made it such an issue when I went to the UK, but before that, most people didn't treat me like a black woman.
Aren't going to be funding the security of Meghan and Harry as they frolic the private beaches of California. Even at the time, President Trump said he is not funding their security. It's absolute insanity that they thought to step down from a job and still want the job's privileges. What do they bring in return for the taxpayers? And the fact that they got Tyler Perry to reiterate this ridiculous narrative is insane. On top of that, I doubt that the royal family wanted them back in any way. It then cuts back to Meghan, who says that the week before COVID, they were stuck in this house, failing to mention it was a mansion on a secluded island. She also claims that everyone in the world knew where we were.
That is not true at all.
I exposed in my last recap that Meghan and Harry leaked their address to the press, who needed to verify the drones flying over their house, so I'm not taking the word from someone who literally sent her address to the press so she can stay in the headlines, as proved in official documents. They then show us Meghan on the floor crying and Tyler saying that they wanted to be free, loved, and happy and they had no plan. Sure. Lie number 2, they didn't have a plan to work outside of the royal family. Wow, it's not like they were recording everything and meeting with LA executives while on a sabbatical leave at the end of 2019. If you believe that they had no plan, then you deserve to be played. Harry was also trying to pitch Meghan a job to Bob Iger, Disney's CEO, back before they left. She also hired a whole professional team to take pictures and record them as they left their last royal engagement, so clearly they had a plan to use the footage. Also, Meghan was acting like they were homeless. Harry then says that they stayed at Tyler's home for 6 weeks and no one knew, including his family, who still thought he was in Canada. Meanwhile, that's yet another lie. Lie number 3. No one knew they were in LA, meanwhile they were leaking news to the US press. People magazine was leaking left and right Meghan and Harry's whereabouts. In February 2020, a source, I wonder who, was telling them they were planning on spending the summer in LA and that they were looking at houses. So Meghan and Harry were leaking the news in America. I know they love to complain about the British press, but it was an American publication leaking the news, before Meghan and Harry even finished their last royal engagements, which concluded on March 8, 2020. Later that month, on March 26th, People magazine reported that they had left Vancouver Island to settle in Los Angeles. So no, Harry, people knew you were going to LA before you even moved into Tyler's house because you leaked that to the American press. And then in May 2020, Gayle King felt it was important to clarify that Oprah wasn't the one to hook up Meghan and Harry with Tyler's mansion. It was also US Weekly that confirmed in May that Harry and Meghan moved into Tyler's $18 million mansion in LA, with the source saying they have been staying there for a month. Tyler also had an interview with Gayle King in July 2020, joking around about losing connection after being asked about Meghan and Harry staying in his place.
It's been widely reported that Meghan and Harry are living at your place in Los Angeles. Can you tell us how they're doing? You speak English?
I'm sorry. I think I just lost you. I just lost you, Gayle. I'm sorry. We have a bad,
But I guess it's okay to talk about their location when they leak it to the press and their so-called friends go on national television poking fun at a story, right? Line number 4. The media exposed their location. Then they show us a video of Harry recording himself talking about the Mail releasing an article in May 2020 exposing their location and pinning it at the top of their website, talking about them staying at Tyler's mansion in Beverly Hills, failing to mention that it was actually US Weekly who broke and confirmed the story earlier, and it was these exclusive American sources giving information about their plans before they even left the UK. Then they show us Meghan on her laptop trying to battle the Mail, which we been knew she just sits all day reading comments online and probably creating fake fan accounts trying to defend herself. What a busy, fulfilling life, huh? Then Meghan complains about the Mail saying, they are making a fortune off of us. Leave it to a narcissist to think that the media and the press that has decades, if not centuries of work under their wing, have only made their fortune and name on D-list American actress Meghan Markle. By her logic, if the Mail is making a fortune off of them, what are she and Harry doing by using their titles and their association to the royal family to stay relevant? Harry then brings up his mom once again because in his head, everything that happens to him nowadays has something to do with Diana. Meghan then says that her friend went to talk to People magazine on their own good merit and not because she put them up to it and she didn't authorize it. Line number 5. She didn't approve or orchestrate the People magazine story. That is a blatant lie by itself because Meghan has a cow on the regular because journalists talk about her. So I can only imagine what would happen if her besties went and spoke without her permission. It's obvious they had her permission and guidance to go and talk to People magazine in February 2019. Also, she went out of her way to protect those girls from being named in the court case against the Mail because she did not want it to be revealed that she was actually the one that put them up to it because they can't perjure themselves in court. Oh, and who was the first to leak the news of Meghan and Harry looking for houses to stay in LA? People magazine. Who do we constantly talk about in present day time giving exclusives about Meghan and Harry? People magazine. Who broke the news that Lilibet was officially a princess? People magazine. It's obvious she has direct connections with People magazine, and saying she didn't orchestrate that cover story in 2019 means that she thinks that we as a society are dumb. She also fails to mention that the only reason her father leaked the letter to the Mail on Sunday was to defend himself from the bizarre statements she sent her friends to go say in People magazine. They were the first ones to bring up the fact that a letter exists. How would they know to talk about something like that if they didn't get the green light from Meghan? She wouldn't think they were violating her privacy? Then comes the talk about the miscarriage. Line number 6, the changing miscarriage story. Meghan and Harry can't even get their story right about a serious thing such as a miscarriage. Instead, they supply us with 3 different versions. Yes, 3. In the first version given to us by privacy queen Meghan, who chose to write an article for the New York Times in November 2020, she writes, "After she got Archie from his crib and after changing his diaper, I felt a sharp cramp. I dropped to the floor with him in my arms, humming a lullaby to keep us both calm, the cheerful tune a stark contrast to my sense that something was not right. I knew as I clutched my firstborn child that I was losing my second." The crazy part is that this whole article was written with one purpose: to clear up her tone-deaf answer while on tour in Africa when she said, "Nobody asked if I'm okay," because that's what she proceeds to talk about after. In the second version, which was in episode 6 of the Netflix soap opera, Meghan isn't in Archie's nursery after changing his diaper. Oh no, she's actually outside of her home, holding Archie as her friend Abigail drives up so she can give her a tour of the new Santa Barbara home. Meghan then tells her she's having a lot of pain, and that's when she fell to the ground while holding Archie. So I guess she wasn't singing a lullaby, she was actually giving Abigail a house tour? Abigail is also not mentioned in the article Meghan wrote in November 2020. In the third version, which is in Spare, Harry writes that to celebrate their new home in Santa Barbara, they had a quiet drink. This is on the same page that he says that they found that Meghan was pregnant. I didn't see anyone else mention this, but usually when you have a drink, it's alcoholic, and if she's pregnant, why is she drinking? Anyway. In this third version, they don't mention a location or anything, he just writes, "On our first morning in the new house, she reported abdominal pains and bleeding, then she collapsed to the floor." So it's unclear if he was there or was it Abigail, but in Spare he writes as if he was there. Meanwhile on Netflix, Meghan was with Abigail showing her the house, and in the New York Times, Meghan writes she was changing Archie's diaper and humming a lullaby. So what is the truth? Harry then has the audacity to blame the male for the miscarriage, saying that he truly believes that Meghan suffered a miscarriage because she was under a lot of stress with the lawsuit. Line number 7. Miscarriages are caused by stress. First of all, no one told them to sue and then appeal and then keep covering up their lies. They could have minded their own business, but no. But instead, she had her friends blabbing to People magazine and she was upset that her narrative wasn't the only one out, so she tried to censor the press. She made her bed and now she has to lie in it. Second of all, you medically cannot blame the woman for being stressed when a miscarriage happens. It's far more complex than that, and it feeds a negative stereotype that women are responsible for miscarriages. Do you know how many DV reports there have been of women suffering abuse from their partner who blamed them for the miscarriage? It's not in the woman's control. So many scientific studies have been done, and they concluded that there is no evidence that stress results in miscarriage. So maybe Harry should take a class or he should shut his mouth. COVID was at a new peak at the time when Meghan suffered a miscarriage and when she took the time to write an article about it. So I assure you, people were dealing with a lot as well. You're not the only one who was stressed, Meghan. People were dying left and right. They then proceed to show us a bunch of private moments that they recorded in 2020 as they frolicked on their private land and enjoyed their mansion. At the same time, when people were stuck at home and didn't have the freedom to do all of that. Again, they are very tone deaf. Harry then somehow relates Meghan being pregnant with Lilibet back to his mother Diana. It's all very weird. Then they jump to March 2021 when they did the Oprah interview. They claimed the bullying scandal was done because of the Oprah interview and called it a smear campaign. I have 2 words for that. So what? Meghan and Harry can go and try to destroy the royal family on Oprah, but no one is allowed to retaliate? No one is allowed to expose your true colors the night before a big interview where you're gonna spew more lies? The royal family protected Harry and Meghan. Meanwhile, their staff was getting bullied and reports were being sent to HR left and right. It's only a smear campaign if what was being said wasn't true. But it was. So I guess it's called getting exposed. Welcome to this channel.
Fine by me!
Harry then talks again about his mom and says that what's happening to them was institutionalized gaslighting because they spoke truth to power.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. No, it doesn't!
Which is so ironic because I think the staff was getting gaslit when they spoke truth to power when they reported a senior royal for her bullying behavior. So the irony is really strong with this one. The funny part is that in Spare, Harry writes about the staff bent over their desks in tears and how William confronted him about Meghan's treatment of staff. So he confirms the bullying in Spare, he's just upset he didn't get away with it. These two then recorded themselves watching the Oprah interview. God, they are so obsessed with themselves. It's bad enough we had to watch them complain and lie on Oprah, but now we have to watch them watching themselves on Oprah? What a nightmare. At some point, Harry covers Meghan's eyes while they watch, and then they had the audacity to say that they wanted the biggest takeaway of the interview to be about depression, but instead everyone made it about race. Yeah, it's everyone else's fault that they talked about the bizarre claims you made, right? The lack of accountability could really kill a person. I will never forget Meghan's dramatic sighs and pauses while talking about racism. So the fact that she's acting like she went on Oprah for the sake of mental health is laughable. In complaining that people made it about race while Meghan's entire defense is on the basis of race is even funnier. What makes this crazy is the fact that Harry said that Meghan never said anyone was racist on Oprah. And yet here is Meghan talking about people focusing on the race topic discussed in the interview. I made a video about that, so go check it out. They then show us them sitting on a desk as Beyonce apparently texted Meghan talking about how she's breaking generational curses, and Meghan, who's trying her hardest to act like an A-list celebrity giving her attention is normal, reads the text in the most monotone voice, as Harry does the cringiest reaction ever. Listen, I've spoken about Beyonce before on my blog, and I've had a lot of sources pertaining to that camp. Beyonce is a very private person, and I'm pretty sure she doesn't appreciate having her messages aired out on Netflix for Meghan's own benefit. Beyonce doesn't even associate with Meghan now. Maybe once upon a time she did, but Harry and Meghan have made themselves out to be professional clowns. They then cut to the clip where William is asked if the royal family is racist, and they cut to another clip where Charles is also asked about the interview. Tyler jumps in to praise Meghan, saying that she's so classy and elegant, she doesn't say any more on Oprah. Yeah, class and elegant is what she's known for, Then they read the statement that the palace put out following the Oprah interview, where the late queen said the iconic "recollections may vary" phrase, and Meghan's face while reading it is priceless. Like, look at their faces. It's so funny. Then comes the scene where William magically texts Harry while the cameras are rolling, and we get Meghan's live reaction. Harry shows Meghan the phone and Meghan says, "What am I looking at?" The acting in this show is really telling as to why Meghan never made it as an actress, but I digress. This scene specifically is their attempt at trying to showcase themselves as this perfect couple who don't care about anyone else except their love story, to the point where they want us, the audience, to believe that Meghan, who was known for controlling everything and everyone around her, didn't react to William's text, and instead she just hugged Harry and wanted to do some breathing exercises and take a walk. You see, this is part of the reason why no one took their show seriously. Now that I am making this video a few months after the premiere and the show backfired on them, it's moments like these where it's obvious to me that they tried so hard to play a perfect couple. And through perfection, people caught how fake this whole thing is. There is no relatable factor about them. No emotion unless it's dropping to the floor and crying. It's all surface level, and this translated to the viewers. Or else their popularity ratings wouldn't have plummeted following the release of this show. They then show us what they did for Easter, and Harry's like, "Come on family, let's go." This is also another reason why, like his wife, Harry shouldn't pursue acting. Everything sounds so formal and rehearsed, it's hard to relate to them even about the most basic thing like celebrating Easter. Then they talk about Prince Philip's death. You know, when he died 2 weeks after the Oprah interview aired? An interview they made knowing that Philip was unwell and in and out of hospitals? Harry shows us with a smile on his face how the black cabs are out mourning Philip's death. I found this part odd because why are you smiling when talking about the death of your grandfather? I also find it funny how he was learning his news from the media. You know, the same media they trashed throughout the soap opera. Harry is planning to leave for the funeral, and a heavily pregnant Meghan comes in to tell Harry that she looked online about him getting a COVID test. I'm pretty sure they have assistants for all of this. Assistants that aren't present in the show, but okay. Then they cut to him leaving as Meghan says goodbye to him outside their home while carrying Archie on her extremely pregnant belly. This scene stuck out to many people because there are a lot of theories on Meghan's pregnancies, whether she was faking it or pregnant through a surrogate. A lot of people were saying how unnatural it was to hold a baby on top of her allegedly heavily pregnant stomach when usually women can't hold toddlers at that stage, and they are usually held on the side of the baby, not right on top of the stomach. What do you guys think? Then comes Philip's funeral, and they show us William and Harry walking right next to each other. He says that it was hard going back following the Oprah interview and seeing William and Charles. Yeah, that is embarrassing, seeing the person who now makes a living trashing his family, coming back to the family and acting like a victim. He also said that he had chats with his father and brother focused on the misinterpretation of the situation, and none of them really wanted to talk about it, but they did. It's always misinterpretation and people taking things the wrong way, and it's never, oh, hey, I'm actually in the wrong and people have a right to be upset. Then he has the audacity to say that it hit him that he and Meghan were never gonna get genuine accountability or an apology from the royal family.
He's lost his mind.
For what? For the delusions you made up in your head? How is it that everyone else is always in the wrong except the two people at the center of all the issues? I think he really believed that he was gonna go back and his family would apologize to him. Meanwhile, he's the one in the wrong. It's insanity. Like, is he mentally okay? But when he was met with coldness and not kissing up, that's when it hit him they won't apologize, and rightfully so. He then says that, well, he and his wife are moving on. Yeah, you guys are totally moving on. You just had to release a book about your family, then followed up with like 13 different interviews, also about trashing your family, and oh, who can forget, you guys are going on ahead and taking the prince and princess titles for your kids from the big bad royal family that you spent 6 hours calling racist on the same platform you claim you're moving on. It's gaslighting and delusion on the big screen. Also, don't forget my episode 3 recap. It was centered about them trashing the Queen's Commonwealth and calling everyone racist. So I think it's really funny when they pretend like they didn't say all those things, but on Netflix they literally dedicated a whole episode to calling the Queen's Commonwealth the British Empire 2.0. They also bring on Harry's childhood friend, Nikki, to talk more about how Harry walking behind Philip at the funeral is the same as what happened at Diana's funeral. Yeah, that's what happens at funerals. Harry isn't some victim because he's at a funeral. William has gone through the same thing, if not more, and we don't hear him using this same sob story every week. Then they show us photos and a video of Lilibet when she was born. Again, a bunch of private, intimate photos coming from the king and queen of privacy. Meghan with her victim complex says, everyone really respected that we've been through so much. I'm sorry, but the fact that she even believes that is hilarious. They then cut to a clip of Meghan recording Archie while saying, "Flowers for mommy?" This goes back to the amounts of intimate and private moments that always have Harry and Meghan recording. Like, your son is giving you flowers, apparently, and instead of being there with your son, you're shoving a camera in his face. He doesn't even look happy. And you don't often see them being in the moment. It's just bam, here's a camera in your face while we're reading to you, playing in the yard, giving you a bath, talking to you. The way these kids have been exploited for Netflix is very telling. They then go on this whole tangent where they talk about how much Lili, who's like a 1-year-old at this point, resembles Diana, and Meghan gleams as she talks about how blue Lili's eyes are like Diana's.
She's got the same blue eyes.
Blue eyes.
Meanwhile, when Harry says that Archie resembles Meghan, she looks down and has no reaction.
I see a lot of my wife in Archie, and I see a lot of my mum in Lili.
Many people of color have called out Meghan's supposed colorism and how she seems to only praise white passing features and surround herself with white culture and white people only. Even for the black parts of her wedding, such as the gospel choir to, and I quote, highlight her culture, were put together by Prince Charles. He organized everything. She's the one on record saying she's never been treated like a black woman.
Most people didn't treat me like a black woman.
What do you guys think? At the irony of Meghan not surrounding herself with black friends unless they're A-list celebrities, they tell us that Tyler is Lilibet's godfather. He then talks about how he doesn't want to be with the royal family in the church or be with them at all. It's funny because Harry and Meghan feel like they deserve an apology, yet they bring on people like Tyler Perry to be like, ew, no, don't want to be with them. But William, Catherine, Charles, Camilla, and so on, they're the bad guys, right? They haven't uttered one word, but they're the bad guys. We then have more intimate videos of the kids, this time of Archie playing the piano. Serena Williams comes on for her 2 lines out of the whole show to say, "Friends can be family too." They then show us a bunch of intimate moments they filmed with their friends, singing happy birthday on the beach with Archie, and then we have Harry and Eugenie when she visited for the Super Bowl that 1 year. Harry then goes on a whole tangent about how this world is now all that Archie knows, and that he only spent 5 months in Windsor, and how he can now do things with his kids that he couldn't do before in the UK. Right. Like, show us every private intimate moment for Netflix, unlike back home, because the royal family was actually quite formal and private. One thing this show does is show us how obsessed Harry and Meghan are with themselves and the narrative said about them. They are always on their laptops trying to combat the media, which isn't very celebrity-like of them. I wouldn't be surprised if they ran their own fan accounts or even camped out in my comment section, since they clearly have the time. There is even this scene with Harry and his laptop while Meghan is getting her makeup done, and she says, "He's deep in some sort of legal email, I can tell." Then comes this hilarious part in the show. They have their little lawyer friend come and complain about how a senior member from William's team came forward to give his witness statement, one that wasn't required. Who are they talking about? Jason Knauf, who was a key player in the infamous bullying allegations against Meghan. The lawyer who's speaking for Clown 1 and Clown 2 is saying that there's no way he couldn't have done that if it wasn't for the approval from his boss, aka William, and how his statement had no legal significance on the case and how it was just to vilify Meghan. It's so funny to me that they're trying to attack Jason Knauf, who came and told the truth. Not his truth, not her truth, like Harry and Meghan like to moan, but the truth. He came and stood up for what's right, the staff that was bullied and the people who were made out to be evil in Harry and Meghan's scheme for money. The fact that they are this mad that he came up and told the truth is very telling of how they want to hide the truth. Stay tuned until the end of the video because Jason replies to their statements. They cut to the scene with Harry, Meghan, and Mandana, who they have listed as a friend, but really she was the president of Archwell, and she stepped down days before the Netflix series premiere. In this scene, Meghan is about to pop a vein over Jason Knauf coming out to talk, and she's like so angry as Mandana's talking, saying "I know," and how, whatever, it's your brother, and basically holding back the urge to say something. And the way this scene is played out is that we have Mandana asking these questions that seem pre-rehearsed and given to her, because we have Harry explaining how the comms team is trying to outdo each other and how this is why he lives in a different country. All this just because Jason Knauf didn't want to be bullied or paid off into staying silent. No, he wanted the truth out there considering he witnessed all of Meghan's bullying firsthand, since he's the one who had to write the report to HR. But no, Harry and Meghan cry more about how William's team is out to get you, as if you aren't attacking William and his family every single day. The bare minimum is to have a third party come out with the facts. And the way this scene is filmed is that they have these people, such as the lawyer in this case, talking for Harry and Meghan and spreading their agenda, while they mix that in with clips of Harry and Meghan celebrating and doing their own things, as if to prove that they are so unbothered by life, or they're just trying to live while everyone keeps tearing them down. From a production and directorial point of view, that's what it seems like. And it's funny considering it's Harry and Meghan who put these people up to this, to be their mouthpiece so they don't get the lashings for saying what they want to say. So in the midst of them being so angry that Jason Knauf stood up and told the truth, such as Meghan plotting finding freedom or bullying her staff, they show us this scene where in the trailer it originally looked like Meghan was crying. More proof that the trailers were very deceiving, considering this isn't the first time we see a scene taken out of context for this show. The actual context is that she just won her court case against the male, and she's smiling, gloating about it, and talking about it with Mandana. Meghan then calls H the Mr. Justice Man. Yeah, is this the same man who called our freedom of speech in our constitution
bonkers?
So much for justice. They also show us the Archwell holiday party, but then it cuts to Meghan talking about how her word is peace, but she can't have peace without truth, and so her word is truth, and some other BS. The more she wants to sound smart and enlightened, the more she comes off as a transparent tryhard. Cut to Meghan doing yoga and talking about her niece, Ashleigh, again, whom I believe Meghan cut off and didn't invite her to her wedding, but then blamed it all on her estranged relationship with her sister Samantha Markle, who's Ashleigh's mother. And Ashleigh kind of bought everything and cut off ties with her mother for someone who only recruited her back into her life when she didn't have anyone else. I talked a lot more about Ashleigh in my episode 3 recap and all the lies there, such as Meghan not being allowed to invite her, so go check out that video. Of course, we have Meghan filming everything. I can imagine her setting the phone down to face the door as she opens it for Ashleigh and then turning to act her little scene. This is funny when you realize that the directors weren't allowed to film for their show. We just have clips that Harry and Meghan recorded on their iPhones. That's how much control they wanted over the narrative. They show us Ashleigh and Archie baking, and a lot of you guys pointed out the similarities with the scene since Prince George was also baking in that one viral scene with Queen Elizabeth, so it seems like Meghan wanted a little parallel. Ashleigh, who seems like a smart woman, comes off as eerily played since she says that she missed so much of Archie's life. Yeah girl, because you weren't invited to be around, but you believe the lie that you weren't allowed to be around Meghan. You know, the same Meghan who was flying off to a lavish baby shower in New York City was so restricted she couldn't rekindle with her favorite niece. Harry then talks about how much he misses the family gatherings, the UK, his friends, and how he's lost a few friends in this process. He then has the audacity to claim that his late mother, who was followed and harassed by the paparazzi everywhere she went, would have ended up living in California like him.
Wow, you really are stupid, huh?
Yeah, California, aka the land of Hollywood and paparazzi. I mean, do you remember what the paparazzi and the media did to Britney Spears in the decade following Diana's death? It's so tone-deaf of him to try to make peace with his decision. He keeps trying to pretend like this would have been Diana's life too, when quite frankly, if you research her history, it's quite different than Harry and Meghan's, no matter how many times Meghan wants to cosplay as Diana. They then get his random friend back, Nachos, Figueres, or whatever, talking about how Harry is looking for a simpler life, one that is more human.
Sure, Jan.
Hey guys, what do you call publishing a tell-all book harassing your brother, your sister-in-law, your nieces, your nephews, your father, stepmom, grandparents, and so much more while going from interview to interview promoting it and spreading more slander? Does that strike anyone as a normal and simple life? It seems to me like he really wants to lead a controversial life, actually. Harry then goes to say that he feels like he's exactly where he's supposed to be, as Meghan looks at him in a very scary way, to be honest. And they just show us these clips of them in a meadow where they are trying to emulate a modern fairy tale, as Meghan likes to keep repeating. In this painfully rehearsed scene, we have Meghan, of course, with another nail on any norm or tradition that the UK has, by saying that she gave a speech the night of their wedding, adding that it was very atypical of a UK bride. And she's like, I think I have it on my phone. And Harry's like, from your phone? And then she proceeds to pull up this speech which she has on hand that's written in elegant script where she calls this a modern fairy tale. Seriously, I think she's obsessed with the modern fairy tale life and achieving that, except in the fairy tale books we grew up with, the prince didn't end up marrying the evil stepsister, but okay. Then she reads the whole speech, which was very cliche, a prince from London and an actress from LA and yada yada yada. They show us moments from them early on and throughout the relationship, but instead of the episode ending on a positive note, it ends with a disclaimer about Jason Knauf. Wow, he really lives rent-free in their heads. The disclaimer reads, in response to allegations that Mr. Knauf submitted a voluntary witness statement in connection with the Daily Mail litigation with the consent of Prince William's office, a representative for Mr. Knauf sent the following statement. These claims are entirely false. Mr. Knauf was asked to provide evidence by both the Duchess of Sussex and associated newspapers. He was advised by counsel that evidence in his possession could be relevant, and he then provided this directly to the court, staying neutral in the process. So basically he denies whatever Harry and Meghan accuse him of and that he was put up to this by William, and calls them a liar at the same time. So line number 8, Jason Knauf submitted a voluntary witness statement, when really he was asked by lawyers to give his evidence. To which there's another memo from Meghan's legal team saying, the legal team from Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, disputes this claim. Mr. Knauf was not asked to provide a witness statement by the Duchess or her team, nor do her attorneys believe Mr. Knauf remained neutral by submitting a witness statement relied on by associated newspapers whilst working for the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. Oh gee, who should we believe? Harry and Meghan, known pathological liars, or this innocent staff member who has worked with the royal family and only tried to get justice for the staff that was getting bullied? Notice how their attorneys say they don't believe that he was neutral. But like, no one cares about your opinions. We're here for the facts. And yes, that is how the documentary and the entire episode ends on, with them popping veins over Jason's involvement. They are just mad that a neutral party who isn't William nor Harry actually came with the truth. And they're trying to pin it on Kate Middleton and William by saying that he worked for them at the time. And so what if he did? He worked for you, Meghan, and yet was reporting your actions to HR years before the bullying allegations hit the press. It's just funny to see them squirm when someone comes out against them, and with something truthful that exposes their lies. It's not like she tried debunking what he said. Oh no, she's just mad that he spoke to begin with. Well guys, this is it. 6 painful episodes later, and this video is finally yours to watch. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thank you for tuning into this entire recap series I did on the soap opera. I really appreciate it, and I'm happy you guys stuck around for the final recap episode. It was really interesting working on this video much later, seeing the show backfire, and how hypocritical they looked after the release of Spare, which I've covered in several videos. Make sure to leave me your thoughts in the comment section. Let me know what other Harry and Meghan videos you want to see, or just videos on the royal family. Follow us on our social media, like and subscribe for more, and as always, I'll see you next time.